Hi everyone, this is the Pentax KX. It is the third of the fourth videos in this series, group of videos in this series, as well as it's the third level up in the Pentax K line that came out in 1975. The first came out film cameras that Pentax released. They were the K1000, KM, KX, and K2 being the top of the line. The KX is an interchangeable lens SLR film camera, and what that means is that multiple lenses can be mounted on the front of it. It has a single lens, only one lens, and it has a reflex mirror. The R for reflex means it has a reflex mirror on the inside. In addition to being an interchangeable lens, we already went over that. Anyway, it's a through the lens meter, which means that the light coming through the lens is metered for the exposure with a center weighted meter. The K1000 and KM videos, if you've seen those, they have an averaging meter which takes the entire frame. This takes just the center portion of the frame, measures that, the light coming through with that, and then sets the exposure based on that. Personally, it's my favorite type of metering. I think it provides the best results. And it's my default metering setting on cameras where I can change that. It has standard shutter speeds from B for bulb, B meaning as long as you're holding down the shutter release, the shutter is open, to 1/1000th of a second. It has a 0.88x magnification viewfinder, meaning that what's coming through here is magnified to be 88% of normal size. Or the size that is hitting the film plane or something. Anyway, the diopter is negative 0.8x. Most of the time I see these it has 1, and I always just assumed that was normal. I don't know I don't exactly know how that affects the view through here. The viewfinder uses multi-coated glass as well, just like the lenses, which is nifty. And this has 93% frame coverage. So 93% of the image that is hitting your film plane is coming through the viewfinder, is what that means. It uses a split image focusing screen or a microprism screen straight out of the box. And that's what they came with. There were also, for the KX line, alternates, custom screens available, and I couldn't tell you too much about those. In my pre-video research, I wasn't able to find out too much information about them. It has 2 flash syncs, FP for flat peak and X for xenon, and the X xenon flash is synced at 1/60th of a second. So this camera's target market. Now, bearing in mind that these cameras somewhat predated market segmentization in the same way that marketing is a science of pigeonholing today. But this was an advanced amateur level camera or professional camera, prosumer as they might be called now, or even full-on professionals. It has a viewfinder here that allows people to see, the user to see the aperture setting through the eyepiece viewfinder. It's the only K camera with that. And this I believe also is a feature on the MX, which evolved directly out of this camera. It's a very, very nice camera, a lot of fun to use, and very enjoyable, very robust and well built. It was manufactured by the Asahi Optical Company, Pentax being the brand name, from 1975 to 1977 in Japan. It's preceded by the Spotmatic and the S&H families, and followed by the M families. Its concurrent models were the K1000, KM, and K2. Let's see. So next we're going to take a look at the camera features, going from the top, the front, the back, the bottom, and inside of the camera, as we do on these videos. So here we have the top of the camera, and we're basically going to follow the order of the manual here. So if you have your manual with you, or if you find one online, follow along, and we'll take a look at all these features. The camera top, this is the camera top. We have here the film advance lever, or the rapid wind lever, as it's called in the manual, but the film advance lever, as it's typically called nowadays. the shutter speed dial, which is right here telling us what shutter speed we're set at from 1000 down to B. The shutter speed lever. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the camera. This is has a different way of setting. Wait, what is it? Shutter speed index. That's I skipped 2 lines. I have an outline, and anyway, I misread it. The shutter speed index is this little orange triangle here, and it points to the shutter speed. So right now it's pointing to 1,000th. The hot shoe. So the accessory shoe are these brackets in this whole area. The hot shoe is this little electrical port here, and that's an X sync for your flash, 1/60th of a second. Battery check button right here. It's the only model with the battery check button on top. But if you push the button down, inside the viewfinder, the index thing moves. Let's see if we can get that and take a look at that and see how it works. Okay, there we go. Battery check. Battery is working because it goes down to the middle. So that's how you know the battery is working, is if your light meter needle points to the middle when you depress the button. From watching the K1000 video and KM video, you'll notice that there's a bump here on both of those camera models, because the KM was built at the same time as this, and my K1000 was one of the first models ever made. It was made in early 1977. I guess not one of the first, but it was made at the same time as the rest of my K cameras. And so they have this bump here, which was used to punch out the battery check button on the KX. Let's see, battery check, where was I? Film speed indicator. Over here, right now it's set on 100 ASA. This little opening in this black ring, this silver opening here, says the film speed. To change that, I press the film speed indicator pin. We're skipping around here a little bit, and then I can rotate this, and that allows me to change the ISO setting. Okay, film speed indicator, film rewind knob. This is the film rewind knob right here, and the film rewind crank pops out of it and allows you to rewind your film. The film rewind knob, when you lift it up, pops open the back of the camera. Then we're going back here, following again the order of the camera manual, to the exposure counter. Right now, because I just opened the back of the camera, it's set on -2. The cocked indicator, right here, there's a little orange dot that tells me that the camera is ready to take a picture. And the shutter lock, this and the K2 have a lock on it. So right now, oh, it's unlocked. So when that little L is showing, it means it's locked. And I can't take a picture with the shutter lock. I can still take a picture with the self-timer, but not with the shutter release, because it's locked. Now, it's locked. And then the button right here in the middle, that's the shutter release. And when you depress that, the shutter activates. Moving now to the front of the camera. The first thing we're going to look at here is the mirror lockup, or MLU lever. You're going to hear me call it MLU. It's the acronym lever right there. And we'll talk about how it works in the next video. Actually, we'll talk about how it works right now. I'm going to tell you in the next video about how it can be used to take pictures. So to use the the MLU lever, you flip it 90 degrees counterclockwise and then depress the depth of field preview, and that locks up your mirror. Let's take a look at that again. Let's see if we can get some better lighting in here. There we go. All right, rotate the mirror lockup lever 90 degrees counterclockwise, push the depth of field preview, and the mirror is locked up. Now the downside to this is you see a whole bunch of nothing through the viewfinder. So you want to, before you do this, have your image composed and completely set up. Then to undo your mirror lockup, rotate the lever back clockwise to 12 degrees, to 12, pointing upward, that is. And your mirror flips back down and resumes normal operation. Not a good idea to leave your camera stored with the mirror locked up. That's kind of hard on the mechanisms inside of the camera. Let's see, what else do we have on the front? We have the Strap lugs are listed next in the camera manual, over here and here, and these are for attaching split rings that you can then attach your camera strap to. Then we have the depth of field preview button itself, which is the button I was pushing to activate the mirror lockup. In addition, pushing that without adjusting the mirror lockup lever allows you to see a preview of the image depth of field before taking the picture. Then we have the lens release lever right here. Get a side view. Lens release lever. And you push this down to allow you to remove the lens from the bayonet mount. Now we have the self-timer. Self-timer works the same way as the KM video if you've seen that. Move it all the way down here, and now it's ready to go. It's timed for about 13 seconds. Now there's a secondary lever right here. As long as it's up, this is on hold. So to activate it, just push that little lever to the side. Oh, I realized I forgot to add something to the composition. You can turn, as long as this is further south than 90 degrees, you can halt the timer by pushing this lever back, this secondary lever back into the vertical position. You don't want to leave it like that for too long, for extended periods of time, the manual says, or its exact words, because it can stretch and damage the spring inside of the timer mechanism. And as you can see, the camera was locked there. So I was able to take that picture with the shutter release lock on. So the shutter release lock does not prevent a picture from being taken. It prevents you from accidentally using the shutter release. On the other side of the lens mount over here, we have an X port on the bottom. This is your Xenon flash sync port at 1/60th of a second, same as is in the hot shoe up at the top, and your flat peak flash port. Like I've said in the other videos, I'm not an expert on how this works, and so it's off the off topic of this video anyway, but it's right there. This is the back of the Pentax KX. The memo holder right here is not included in the, oops, I just scratched it. Oh no, I didn't, I just got it dirty. Is not in the camera manual, I'm not sure why, but this is a memo holder. So when you take your 35mm film, you tear the top of the box off and you slide it in there, or you take a post-it note or a piece of paper and put it in there, and then you can write what type of film you have on it, and then you just know what film you've got, and it's a lot easier than a dial, which you might forget to set. So the things on the back that to look at are the eyepiece accessory grooves right here and here, and this is where you would mount eyepiece accessories such as a 90-degree finder or a magnifying thing or an eye suction cup darkening thing. I forget what they're called. Then we've got the eyepiece itself right here, and as I said previously, that's SMC super multi-coated glass. Then the film door, and the film door is what provides the light tight seal for your film, which goes inside the camera back. Inside the camera you've got the film guide rails, which are these top and bottom rails right here, and then the film rails here and here. The way these work are explained in the KM video. I recommend the second KM video. If you want to know how these work, watch that video. I'm not going to redo it every single video. That would be boring and tedious for those of you who want to watch all of these. Next we have the shutter curtains, which are right here. This is a horizontal film plane shutter curtain system, meaning that, as you can see how it's being wound, when the image is being taken, the shutter opens and travels from right to left, exposing the film from right to left to the image. Then we have, let's see, the film sprocket right here. This helps keep the film in the right alignment, and that's what these rails do as well, and also keeps tension on the film as it's being advanced. It also keeps the film from going too far forward or too far back for the proper image registration. Then we have the take-up spool right here. This is what takes up the film as you advance it. See if we can show that spinning. There you go. You can kind of see it moving around in there. And the last two things are the film roller over here on the door. Helps keep tension on the film. And you can see this camera before, I've had it cleaned and lubricated and adjusted since I got it, so it's just been back in my hands about 6 weeks. But prior to that, it had been serviced in 1980. A fun thing about getting these old cameras is looking inside and seeing the service record. I have one camera that has 4 service record stickers inside of it, and it's pretty neat to see that somebody cared about it and used it that much that it had to be serviced that regularly. But this one was serviced in 1980 and then again in 2012. Then the last thing we have to look at in here is a film pressure plate. Over here, this helps keep the film flat against the shutter curtains so that you get a nice, crisp, in-focus image. While we're here, let me remind you, do not ever for any reason touch the curtains. Don't touch the film curtains. And if you have this open for a longer exposure time, say a second, don't stick your finger into the opening and let the curtains close on it. That's a really good way to screw up a perfectly good camera. And as parts for these cameras are going out of production or haven't been made in a long time and are getting harder to replace, screwing up your shutter could mean screwing up a perfectly good camera. So don't do that. And the other thing we've got here is the mirror. Don't touch the mirror. It's got a sensitive surface, and if you touch it, it could damage the surface, and that's another really good way to screw up a perfectly good camera.